Hi, I'm the True Wise Gamer, giving off my vast knowledge so you may understand games a bit better. I think it's easy to say that the Digimon WonderSwan games were pretty bad. Had some cool ideas, but were otherwise, ugh. But that's not to say that Digimon doesn't have a lot of good games. In fact, most of the Digimon games are pretty decent. In fact, if I can recommend one game to you guys from the Digimon series, it's actually Digimon Cyber Sleuth. Heck, one of the first games I ever bought for my DS was a Digimon game, which I quickly sold off because I couldn't play an RPG for the life of me. I regret that mistake a lot, and it's kind of ironic now since I love RPGs, as you can tell on my, right here. So after playing one of the worst Digimon games I've ever played, I decided to actually play one of the better ones so I can actually remember, oh wait a moment, I actually like this series. But stuff happened and prevented me from actually doing the review. I did get the script done, but overall that original script was very, and I do mean this, very unconcise and was a bit in shambles. Like, yeah, things led into each other, but otherwise they didn't really ultimately matter. So I decided to just rewrite it, and well, I think it's overall better. But anyway, enough rambling.
Yes, get over it!
So, Digimon World DS. That title is actually wrong. In fact, this game has nothing to do with the World sub-series. It's actually a part of a sub-series called the Story series, which is what the beginning of, which also leads it to Dusk. And these two other games that have never been translated, which, god damn it. Though then again, it was Cross Wars, so who knows. And it's not the first time Bandai ever did that. They've actually done it with World 4, which isn't even a World game since it's actually just a bloody tie-in to the X Evolution movie that we still don't have a good copy of. But with that out of the way, let's actually begin talking about Digimon World DS, or Digimon Story if you prefer. The game begins with our protag going to the computer lab, since he's been hearing rumors about Digimon and actually wants to learn more about them. This is odd, since well, due to revelation near the tail end of the game, this detail becomes a little awkward. After finding nothing out, the normal, rational thing happens as his computer just starts to eat him up. He then appears in a forest, but around him he notices something's off with it. Then also noticing, after a bit, some Digimon, who are actually teaching some other Digimon, well, the basics of Digimon Digivolution. I've already covered this, and we'll go over it again when we talk about the gameplay. So, just to continue on, it ends on the idea that basically, it requires the tamers to unlock these forms more naturally, as one can do so themselves on their own, but it is overall faster and, well, better with a friend, to help you max out faster. After they leave, he follows them to a plaza. Here, he meets one of the 4 harmonious ones, who basically are in charge of this place. They are tasked to basically issue missions and ranks to tamers here. Tamers are, you know, the people who control Digimon. They go from normal to the top, Tamer Kid. He asks if we want to join, and of course we want to join, or else this game would end really quickly. Since you can't be a tamer without owning a Digimon, they actually give you one of free Digimon, which can digivolve into one of the partner Digimon of Saver. Which, to talk about a bit, I did like that series overall. Has a few problems, but it's still overall good. It also has one of the better Agumon designs by actually giving him little gloves. I don't know what they are. And also a cool evolutionary line that is just awesome. Plus also Galmon, but another time. After giving us our partner Digimon, they will assign us some mission to do, which over time will increase our rank, which will also be the structure till the end of the game. This structure is really good. It has its faults sometimes with a lull in the story at times, but it's otherwise good. Honestly, it's a very simple plot, but I think I give it way more slack because it's not gonna give you a false impression of what it's going to do. Plus, for the most part, are interesting enough in their own rights, while still tying into the overarching plot. A good example of what I'm talking about is the Black Agumon plotline. During the beginning, you meet, well, a Black Agumon. He starts off very much of a jerk, saying, I don't need a tamer to get stronger, but after soon defeating him, he kind of more mellows out, but still standoffish, becoming a sort of rival for us for a little bit. This actually comes to a head when he has to fight Machine Dramon. Oh, god damn it. Why do you have to remind me of that terrible game? Anyway, he decides to fight Machinedramon since he has to be the one to defeat us, and not him. But he ultimately fails, being reborn back into a Pokemon, who we decide to raise with some genuine kindness. In fact, we later learned that the original tamer for Black Agumon, or Pokemon, depends on what you want to care about, anyway, was really abusive to him, and thus why he was like that. But after the genuine kindness he was shown, and truly wanting to become a better Digimon, he actually goes out of his way to try to save his old tamer, who actually changes her ways as well. This arc really represents what Digimon is really all about. Friendships and those bonds giving us strength. These are some of the cornerstones of the franchise. And each series, in some regard, regardless of quality, has this as an underlying theme. And again, this is important later for the story, which let's start trying to wrap that up now. So you see, throughout the game, a being called Unknown D was wreaking havoc across the digital world, which was mostly directed at the tamers. Halfway through, we actually learned he's also been influencing some of the higher ranked Digimon tamers to being more abusive jerks who don't care about Digimon to begin with. Hell, the beginning of the game has one of these jerks trying to attack us just for some Digi-Cake.
Well, at least he wasn't trying to steal 40 of them, because there's nothing more evil, well, almost, as evil as stealing 40 Digi-Cakes. Sad part is nobody's gonna get that joke.
Hell, the Sage Tamer actually leads up to actually having to fight the Harmonious ones due to a virus that Unknown D is using on them. And we actually later learned in that same part who was controlling them. Alphamon, who has been appearing in the story a bit, though not too much, and it was quite obvious it was him. I mean, once the I hate human thing was revealed, it was like, oh, of course it's him. Now, while sure, this wasn't revealed immediately, it was just given so much of an easy tale that you not noticing it is weird. But what could possibly be his goal? Well, his goal is to wake a certain Digimon, Chronos DSmon, who is an Ultra Digimon who breaks the general mode of the series. He wants to use him to destroy the digital world. I would like to believe that this is a mistranslation and he's talking about the digital terminal, which is where, the hub is. He actually plans to use us so that we can awaken Chronosmon. However, with the help of Clavis and Jamon, they are basically both momentarily knocked back. However, this wasn't his entire goal. He also has another target, that being Kowloumon. Yeah, for some strange reason, Kowloumon's in this game for some reason. I have no idea why, since he also still holds the light of Digivolution, which is really weird because again, that only made sense in Tamers because of the storyline in that, but otherwise I have no idea why. Anyway, he plans to use Kowloumon's power to just wake up Chronomon, which is still bad news regardless, but why did he need to capture us then? Well, he still requires a tamer to actually, tame Chronosmon. However, he did not know a certain requirement for the tamer, since it actually imprints on the Digimon. So since he worked with Kane, a tamer who's been under his control for a while, he actually imprints evil into him, and well, Chronos Demon becomes really, really evil. And let me just tell you straight up, this guy is no pushover. I had to straight up just stop and regrind just to beat this guy, because for some reason, he is really overpowered. After doing that, it was easy to defeat Chronosmon, and Alphamon begins to see the error of his ways, understanding that, yeah, humans are alright, with us also becoming the new Tamer King. As I mentioned before, the overall plot is simple, but it does its job well enough and does not really, engorge itself too much. The one thing I can complain about is the slow dialogue, unless you button mash like a lot, because this dialogue is so slow. And that will be the only time I'll be talking about slow. But it did the one important thing it should do.
Showing us that penguins are evil. Oh, and also, not sucking. I know normal people think that that's the most important thing right now, but when will you people learn that penguins are evil? God. But with that out of the way, let's actually talk about the gameplay. Or actually, let's actually talk about the music first, since I actually do want to say something.
But before I do that, let's actually talk about the music. It's actually pretty good. Nothing too stellar, but it does its job well enough, with the battle theme being really, really good. I also have to praise the model work for the characters, which are just well done, doing them just right, giving you enough personality to know what type of Digimon they are. Plus also, they did put a lot of models in the game, so, you know, you have variety. In any case, the gameplay is a turn-based RPG. In this version of the genre, the game works on a 2x5 grid that has one side being your side and the other, your opponent. Your opponent can have up to 5 Digimon, though this number depends heavily on the form of the Digimon. For example, you'll never see 5 Mega Digimon in a battle, but you will see possibly 5 Rookie Digimon. What you can do is simple enough as well. You see, each Digimon gets some set of moves, which they can get more over time. These moves also have targeting zone. Orange means it can be aimed anywhere within these boxes, or blue, meaning they're stuck to those particular boxes, with the benefit of a little more power due to their restriction. More times than not, enemies will try to group together, so using a lot of more group hitting moves will actually be to your benefit. Your opponent can do the same to you, however. Now, you would think the best idea would be to just, spread your Digimon out. In some regards, sure, but you're losing out on the little small stat bonus while you have them near each other. See, when 2 Digimon are near each other, they give each other little stat bonuses, depending on the Digimon themselves, which is really useful for some Digimon. While it's not going to win you the battle, it's going to help at least. There are also items in the game that you can equip to your Digimon to increase their stat, and also, if they have it, can give a move to that Digimon. There are also attributes in this game that certain moves have, but in this aspect, it's something you will generally ignore since it hardly ever matters in battle, and the damage difference is not really that, noticeable. The one attribute you'll actually be wanting to focus on is the type of Digimon they are. Why? This is because of the XP they drop. For this game and the next series, certain enemies drop certain types of XP. Why? So they can digivolve into different mons throughout the game. This is an interesting idea as it's semi-evolution of the mechanic from the World Series where certain stats influence your evolution, but you actually have a control on where they go, which just makes it better on principle. Though there is something they did add for some reason, though at the same time, while I can see the reason for why they added it, I can't at the same time. The stat I'm referring to is aptitude. This stat affects a Digimon's overall level, meaning you have to actually degenerate or de-digivolve to allow them to get a little stronger. Though your stats will lower, some stats from the farm will actually still be where you raise them up. Meaning if I increase my attack stat by 15, that 15 will still be there. Which also leads me to talk about the farm. The farm is something you get after rescuing Kalumon. This is where you can leave some Digimon for later and let them grow a bit while you're doing stuff. They also gain XP, and if you change the scenery, they also gain a certain more amount of certain type of XP. As you notice on the other screen, I've actually had the farm there. Basically, it allows you to just, see your team members. And every so often, a mini event will happen. And depends on what happens in it, your Digimon stats will also increase, depending on the item you have on your farm. These are farm goods, basically stuff that allows your Digimon to grow in a stat depending on what it is. You can actually go into the farm and just train them up a bit, but they have something called a stress bar that basically says, hey, I can't just do this forever, man. Though this bar isn't too much of a hassle since you can buy chocolate, the true stress reliever, and just feed them, force them back in just to max out their stats. And the only time I ever did that was with Chronos DSmon, since again, he was entirely bullshit. Seriously, the game is a breeze for the most part, until we get to him where, again, I wasn't having any problem. To actually go on about this game's difficulty, as I mentioned before, this game's really easy. As long as you're not making terrible mistakes, you'll be fine for the most part. Really, what is a challenge for me in this game is just how slow the game is. You see, this game really likes to take its time for pretty much everything. To give an example, you have to attack, wait, damage, wait, next turn, wait, repeat until you win, and it's really annoying. It's also not helped with the high encounter rate in this game, which is really surprising for me, since again, most of these fights aren't that really challenging. It also doesn't help that the game, at the beginning of combat, you have to scan the enemy Digimon. That takes up around 4 seconds per foe, which adds up a lot of time. To quickly explain scanning, Basically, after you scan a Digimon over 100%, you can actually get that Digimon as well. And if you have over 200 and more, they gain a small stat bonus that's not that useful, but overall is nice. And going back to the game's difficulty, I think I might have actually jinxed myself by going back and doing some of the side quests. At the farm, Digimon can actually request you to do something for them. These usually range from just a simple fetch quest to just meeting someone. And this is where I need to bring up Savers again, or Digimon Data Squad. Why, you ask? Because they're in this game for some reason. I know this is cross-promotion just for the show, but at the same time it's like weird because when is this game taking place for them? And also, if this is just happening during the middle of it all, that's a weird thing to do. Plus, I also had to ask the developers one little thing about them.
Why is Shine Greenmon, Rosemon, Mirage Galmon, and Raybon not in the game? For some strange reason, they are just not in the game. I have no idea why, because by this point in the anime, they were already shown. Or at least hinted at so much that we were going to just see them later. Hi, post-edit me. This is something I noticed while I was editing the video a bit. I had just noticed and just remembered that the game for some strange reason has their Japanese names in. I have no idea why. Again, the anime was out by this point, and I'm talking about the English one for this one.
And I mean, like, you would think they would put them in there if they're putting the cast of Savers in here too. I'm just saying, it's weird. Granted, it did give me a good opportunity to switch to Gallantmon, which is still a better name than Dukemon. Sorry for getting off topic, though to actually mention them again, they actually do have a final subquest, which is actually more of an endgame stuff where you fight the Demon Lord Digimon. Though, I didn't do it for this game because, well, I really didn't want to keep playing it because I felt completed. Plus, also, I plan to do the Data Squad one day since, you know, might as well.
In the end, this game's alright. It has some flaws, it's a bit slow, and the story is predictable and simple. But otherwise, it's still a good story with some good gameplay, some good music, and really, and I have to repeat again, some really good models. Next time, if you saw my last video, which I don't think anyone had, next time we're going to talk about Eternal Sonata. Why? Because a fan requested it, and, well, I do like trying to honor requests whenever I can. Well, except for racing games, because I just don't like them.